I'm glad to have you join us again on the program from the National Assembly. I am Ignatius Nkwo. Well, today is one of those days that will bring to you live brokers from the National Assembly. Yesterday, being Wednesday, was that of Senate. And today, the House of Representatives will be coming to you live. Well, from the other paper of today's plenary, the House will be considering 15 motions, while 7 bills have been scheduled for consideration as well. Well, out of that 7 bills, one of them will be coming for third reading, while the remaining 6 have been scheduled for second reading. Well, I tell you today, one of the anticipated bills will be coming up for consideration, and that is the Petroleum Industry Bill. Well, you remember the bill has been passed by the Senate, and then today the House will be considering it for second reading. But I have with me, as usual, the Chairman House Committee on Rules and Business, Representative Emmanuel Okejef. He's here to tell us more on what to expect by the time the House reconvenes this morning. Thank you for your time.
Good morning. Well, like you mentioned, we have the first bill is coming up for third reading. And I think I should industry bills coming up today. You also have 2 others that will be coming up in respect to or in relation to the petroleum industry. The other one is the one that appear to be contentious, the one dealing with the producing host communities, participation and cost and benefits among the government, petroleum companies, and the host community. So that bill too will be coming up. And then you have one that will institute a framework to establish guidelines for the operations in the upstream and the downstream of the petroleum industry. So 3 bills on the petroleum industry will be coming up today for second reading. That is the merits and demerits of all those bills will be taken today. And if passed, will be referred to standing committees to take a final look at it, and indeed invite stakeholders from out there to come and bring in their inputs for eventual passage of that bill. We have also a bill that seeks to establish the Institute of Environmental Practitioners. It's coming up for second reading. Indeed, today is a very crowded day. We have 15 motions coming up for hearing. 15 motions. Why some deal with infrastructure motions are not debated on the floor. They are just taken and referred to a standing committee. But you have motions, motions rather, that will likely be debated, like the one seeking to investigate the violation of Associated Gas Reinjection Act and loss of revenue due to gas flaring. It's a motion that will be coming up to take a look at that area that sufficiently worries the member that brought it on the floor. We also have a motion, to investigate the high cost of malaria tests and drugs in government hospitals. You know, malaria is a problem everybody is worried about in our climate, so it's one of the motions that will be coming up. Several other motions to regulate. Another one is to regulate the operations of abattoirs within the Federal Capital Territory here. It's also one of the motions. Many motions. Continue voter registration exercise, to take it to the wards. Presently, it's happening at the local government headquarters. Now, this member feels that it should be taken way down to the wards. So this and other motions will be coming up. And indeed, it's not late. Any member can spring up with a matter of urgent public importance, and it will be attended to.
All right. Thank you very much for your time.
Once again, thanks for having me.
Well, as it is, members are yet to comment.
Loved one will be released. The implication is that these people are no longer safe. They cannot move about to go to their farms. So it means the people are not going to farm, and they won't have means of livelihood because the money which they have earned. So move.
Those against it say nay. The ayes have it.
I rise to move that a bill for an act to establish the Northeast Development Commission charged with the responsibility of, among other things, receiving and managing funds allocated by the federal government and international donors for the resettlement, rehabilitation, integration, and reconstruction of roads, houses, and business premises of victims of insurgency and terrorism, as well as tackling the menace of poverty, illiteracy, ecological problems, and other related environmental or developmental challenges in the Northeast states, and for other related matters, HB 158. You ready third time? I so move.
Honorable members, the question is the bill be now read the third time. Those in favor of the motion say aye. Those against it say nay. Ayes have it. I now invite the clerk to...
A bill for an act to establish the Northeast Development Commission charged with the responsibility of, among other things, receiving and managing funds allocated by federal government and international donors for the resettlement, rehabilitation, integration and reconstruction of roads, houses and business premises of victims of insurgency and terrorism, as well as tackling the menace of poverty, illiteracy, ecological problems, and any other related environmental or developmental challenges in the Northeast states, and for other related matters. Third reading.
The third reading of a bill for an act to amend the deep offshore
and inland basin production sharing contracts and for other related matters be read a third time.
A bill for an act to amend the deep offshore and inland basin production sharing contracts and for other related matters. Third reading.
Bill read the third time and passed.
Bill for an act to establish the Federal College of Dental Technology and Therapy to provide for courses leading to the award of degrees, diplomas, and certificates in dental technology, dental therapy, and for other related matters, HB 1018, be read for the third time.
Second, the motion that bill number 3 be read a third time. I so second.
Honorable colleagues, the question is that the bill be now read a third time. Those in favor of the motion say aye. Those against it say nay. Ayes have it. I now invite the clerk to read the long title.
Honorable members, a bill for an act to establish the Federal College of Dental Technology and Therapy to provide for courses leading to the award of degrees, diplomas, and certificates in dental technology, dental therapy, and for other related matters. Third reading.
Bill read the third time and passed. I therefore call on the Leader of the House to move.
I rise to move that a bill for an act to amend the Surveyors Registration Council of Nigeria Act, Cap S18, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria, 2004, to review the fines upwards and for other related matters, HB 545, be read a third time. I so move.
Honorable colleagues, the question is that the bill be now read a third time. Those in favor of the motion say aye. Those against it say nay. Ayes have it.
Health for proper sanitation in matters relating to housing, food, and generally the protection of the environment and control of services and activities and for other related matters, HB 27, be read a third time.
Say aye. Those against it say nay. Ayes have it. Sixth order of the day, honorable colleagues, is consolidation of two bills. Honorable members may wish to note the bills are on the same subject matter. I now invite the Chairman, Committee on Rules and Business to move.
I rise to move that a bill for an act to provide for the governance and institutional framework for the petroleum industry and to establish a fiscal framework that encourages further investment in the petroleum industry whilst increasing accruable revenues to the federal government of Nigeria and for other related matters. And a bill for an act to provide for the governance and institutional framework for the petroleum industry and for other related matters be consolidated as one bill. Mr. Speaker, my dear colleagues, I so move.
Have come and said because of the importance they needed to digest and prepare for full debate, as they were not fully aware that it was coming up this morning. And so that is why I crave your indulgence after due consultation that this matter be stepped down to Tuesday, the 13th of this month.
We step down on the 8th, please.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
I rise to move that the bill for an act to amend the National Environmental Standards and Regulations Enforcement Agency Act, Cap N164, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria, 2004, be read for the second time. I move, Mr. Speaker. To the threats to our well-being and survival of the planet Earth. And to ask for your support, my honorable colleagues, to amend the Nigerian Act 2007 to sharpen the teeth of the agency to be able to effectively perform its functions. Mr. Speaker, my honorable colleagues, by way of introduction, Nigeria has been trudging on to strike a balance between its economic development and the sustainability of the environment, which is characterized by severe challenges, including crude oil contamination of the Niger Delta's marine environment, devastating flood, ocean surge, and storms threatening riverine communities, as the motions we took yesterday showed. Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, this is the result of the activities of major oil companies in the Niger Delta. Mr. Speaker, there is also the raging desertification in the north. About 60 years ago, the expanse land in northern fringes of Nigeria was a flourishing savanna full of human activity. Today, it is becoming barren and deserted. Up north, Mr. Speaker, roads and villages are being buried under sand dunes. Rivers and lakes are silting. And this is also as a result of desertification, occasioned by tree felling, bush burning, overgrazing by animals, etc., which are also man-made. As a result of this, Mr. Speaker, 11 states in the north have land that has lost its nutrients and can no longer support farming by men and livelihood for animals. Mr. Speaker, where I come from my village of Nasim, to my headquarters in Ribadu, when I was growing up, Mr. Speaker, it was thick bush. Today, if I stand from my village, I can see Ribadu because all the trees are no longer there. It is something in song between Sabo Loko and song. Mr. Speaker, another thing is about the air that we breathe. In our big cities like Lagos, Ibadan, Port Harcourt, Aba, Onitsha, Umuahia, Kano, and Kaduna, Mr. Speaker, the air is full of carbon monoxide, which is produced by fumes from factories and automobiles. But since all these happenings are certainly the results of human activities, there is a need to tell ourselves that we must change our ways in order to preserve and protect the environment for all generations to come. Mr. Speaker, sir, we need to tell ourselves that we are the ones that are causing these environmental hazards. And we have an agency in Nigeria that we need to amend the law establishing it so as to ensure cleaner and healthier environment for Nigeria, to enforce environmental laws and regulations, and to process the use of equipment or technology that may undermine international agreements and protocols that we sign. Mr. Speaker, the bill establishing this act was assented to by President Umar Musa Yar'Adua on the 30th of July 2007. But, Mr. Speaker, it has now become imperative that we further amend this law to be able to give the agency teeth to bite, because the statutory functions of the agency, Mr. Speaker, will be meaningless if not complemented with the effective tools to enforce them. Indeed, the powers of enforcement will inject life into lofty ideas found in the functions. Responsibility without authority is meaningless. Therefore, Mr. Speaker, I propose as follows, that we amend 4 sections of the law. The first one is to place, one of the major changes is to place the inclusion of the Federal Minister of Health in the composition of the governing council of the agency. This is because, considering the critical and strategic role of the Federal Minister of Health in public health and environment matters, they need to be on the board of the agency. Secondly, Mr. Speaker, it is imperative to empower the agency to be able to establish and enforce administrative penalties. In Section 30 of the Act, Mr. Speaker, the agency can only avert pollution when they go to court, obtain an order to come and remove or ask the polluter to stop pollution. Therefore, this will take a long time. People take advantage of this section, keep polluting. By the time you take them to court, they'll go and defend themselves, file a counter affidavit, and then the matter will go on and on and on while the pollution continues. Therefore, Mr. Speaker, I'm suggesting.
On page 9 of the votes and proceedings of today, was this bill that was referred to the Committee on Maritime Safety, Education and Administration. The referral included Navy, which was omitted. So, verbatim recorders and clerks note that.
We are reaching you live from the floor of the House of Representatives, where members have reconvened for the plenary of Thursday. I am Ignatius Nkwo. Don't forget, you can also watch us on NTA Parliament channel on 306 Star Times Bouquet. The members definitely are now going through the votes and proceedings of Wednesday's plenary. Once it's approved, then the day's business takes off. Remember, Elias said, from the order paper of today, the House will be passing 6 bills for first reading, and then a total of 15 motions have been scheduled for consideration, while 7 bills will be considered as well. But out of that 7 bills, one of them will be coming for third reading. Well, today, the long-awaited petroleum industry bill will be considered on the floor of the House, and that will be for second reading. And you know, in the House, the bill was broken into 3 different parts. That we have a bill that seeks to establish the legal framework and institutional framework for petroleum industry, and to establish a fiscal framework that will encourage further investment in the petroleum sector. Well, one of the bills that will be coming under the PIB is also a bill for now to provide for a legal framework that will be able to manage and harmonize the issues of the producing host communities, their participations, their costs and benefits.
Thank you for coming. Kindly take your seats. Also in the gallery are students of the Diocese of Kubwa Anglican Communion, Anglican Comprehensive Secondary School, Kubwa. Could you please rise? A round of applause for them. Thank you for coming. Kindly take your seats. Also in the gallery are members of National Association of Faculty of Administration Students, NAFAS, Nasarawa State University Chapter. Could you please rise? A round of applause for them. Thank you for coming. Kindly take your seats. Any member who has a petition to present to the House may please rise to do so. We'll start from my right. Honorable Mbora. Can't see you very well.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My name is Honorable Mbora. I represent Calabar Municipal Odukbani Federal Constituency, Cross River State. Mr. Speaker, petition against the ENL Consulting Limited over the non-payment of 10-year wages and forced to the legal mass resignation of the disengaged dog workers and other sundry issues by the Agitating Dog Workers Forum of Nigeria. So that the Agitating Dog Workers Forum are protesting the untold hardship sufferings being imposed on them on account of failure by the ENL Consortium Limited to fulfill our obligation of disengagement. The other various cases that are shortfalls here, one, they are being owed 10 years arrears of monthly wages, as well as payment of balances of workers' percentage and that of the management to their PFA, to allow the PFA to commence the process of effecting their obligation. The payment of unlimited contributory pension from 2006 to 2011 to this disengaged and designated PFA. The payment of their annual leave allowance covering all the 10 years that they have put in. To revisit and review the payment of 350,000 naira redundancy, terminal and hazardous benefits and other pending issues. Mr. Speaker, the dock workers are appealing passionately and very strongly to you to intervene in this matter and resolve these issues to save their families from continued hardship. Mr. Speaker, I rest my case.
Please proceed and lay the petition. Any more petitions? Honorable Rita Oji.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and distinguished colleagues. My name is Rita Oji, member representing Nigerian fellow the Federal Constituency from Lagos State. Mr. Speaker, the petition I have here is from Mr. Ebel, a Nigerian that traveled to Morocco to buy his goods. And in the process, they were arrested on the road, and the funds that they are meant for, 6 or 7 of them that were going were discovered in the vehicle, and instead of allowing him to explain his own side of the story, he was amputed and was brought back with one hand. The man came back to Nigeria and said his fundamental human rights have been abused, and he seeks your kind assistance to bring the perpetrators of this act to book. And the next one is from the families of Okoli Obioha, a diaspora too, that was arrested on mistaken identity, according to the documents attached, sir. They tortured him before knowing that he was not the suspect that stole the phone. The man died in their custody. And as of today, the families have done all to allow them bring the man home. They were not releasing the corpse and they were not releasing the autopsy conducted. So the family ran to the house and asked for the kind assistance of this parliament to assist in bringing the corpse of the man home instead and following the process of knowing why he was tortured to death for offense he did not commit. Mr. Speaker, sir, I seek your kind assistance to lay the petition.
Please proceed and lay the petition. Minority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, my highly respected colleagues, Leo Kuwe Ogo, representing the Soko Federal Constituency. I'm from Delta State. Mr. Speaker, my colleagues, I have a petition by disengaged casual staffs of NNPC. This petition from the disengaged casual staff of NNPC Warri Zone against the management of NNPC. It is stated here that the total number of disengaged casual temporary staff that were disengaged in June 2004 was 3,000, but through the intervention of well-meaning Nigerians, NNPC agreed to reinstate 122 casual staff. Out of the 122 casual staff is made up of Kaduna Zone 49, Port Harcourt 34, Lagos Zone 4, and Warri Zone 35. But the Warri Zone have stated very clearly that the other zones have been reinstated while they have been denied the privilege of being reinstated, which they consider full discrimination. So their singular prayer is that the disengaged casual staffs of NNPC from Warri Zone be reinstated as permanent and pensionable staff with arrears of their salaries with effect from 28 May 2007 be paid to them as they have been done with their counterparts, which have been reinstated. Mr. Speaker, my colleagues, if you will agree, let me be privileged to lay this petition before the House.
Please proceed and lay the petition. Honorable Toby Okechukwu.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues. Toby Okechukwu. I represent an area of Oji River Federal Constituency from Enugu State. Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, this is a petition that has been written by the chairman of Oji local government and 15 other consumers of electricity in Oji regarding the avoidable partition which they are being subjected to by the EEDC by trying to remove a thermal substation, 15 MVA transformer that has been there for several years. The issue is that they want is some akin to asset stripping, and because the people know the consequences, they've resisted this. Based on this, they cut them off from electricity, and in addition to the fact that they failed to supply them with meters to build them, and they continue to do estimated billing. So they have cried and asked the House to save their soul from this avoidable consequence and the suffering they've been going through. So it's my pleasure to bring this to the House and ask that I lay it for your consideration.
Please proceed and lay the petition. Honorable Linus, okay.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Honorable colleagues, I am Linus Okore, represent our House on the Ivo Federal Constituency of Bonny State. Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, I have a petition written from the legal practice firm of AGK Ugu and Associates on behalf of Corps Deputy Commander Ogbonnaya for PhD. It's titled A Plea to Save the Career and Person of Deputy Corps Commander Ogbonnaya for PhD, now demoted to ACC by the Federal Road Safety Corps because of protest on his behalf by a member of the House of Representatives, Committee of Federal Road Safety Commission over non-promotion. Mr. Speaker, I just take one paragraph of it only to summarize. He said that in 2016, Honorable Prestige Ossi, a member of the House of Reps, Committee of Federal Road Safety Commission, who knew the officer in year 2004 as wearing the rank of Deputy Corps Commander, met him still hanging the same rank in Abuja. The said Honorable Ossi, after private inquiry, complained to the Secretary to the Government of the Federation through a letter dated November 29, 2016, appealing for intervention on behalf of a man who, in spite of writing promotional examinations and passing same on 8 different occasions, remains stagnated at the same rank. Mr. Speaker, the prayer of the petitioner is that the House do kindly prevail on the Corps Commander of the Road Safety to restore Ogbonnaya Akporo's rank and also grant him his overdue promotion. With kind permission, Mr. Speaker, may I lay the petition on the table?
Please proceed and lay the petition. I guess the last petitioner today will be Honorable Afe Oluwakere.
Right, Honorable Speaker, distinguished colleagues, my name is Afe Oluwakere. I represent Akure North and South Federal Constituency of Ondo State. I have this petition on behalf of one Mrs. Akinyemi from my constituency on unlawful termination of our appointments by NDLA. Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, we had earlier submitted this petition, and the petition committee of this House attended to the petition of the woman, and NDLA was directed to reinstate her. But after leaving here, NDLA wrote another letter to the woman that what the Parliament had said is only fit for the trash bin, that she will not be reinstated. And he sent another letter to her upholding her determination of her appointment. So we are writing another petition to the Parliament so to intervene on behalf of this woman. So, Mr. Speaker, I seek your indulgence to lay this petition.
Please proceed and lay the petition.
Well, at the moment, 6 members have presented petitions from different constituents before the House. And then the petitions have been referred to the House Committee on Public Petitions. Well, that is where the next stage of the petition will come from, where the committee will now begin to look into the cases as submitted by the individual members. And then as soon as that is done, the House is now expected to take the next agenda from the other paper, which will be the first reading of a number of bills. 6 bills have been scheduled for first reading. And one of them is a bill of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Nigeria Act. That bill seeks to amend that act. Well, the second bill that will be coming for first reading as well will be a bill on the National Commission for Colleges of Agriculture. Well, that bill as well will be coming for first reading. And we have the Companies and Allied Matters Act. This bill seeks to repeal and reenact another bill that will replace the Companies and Allied Matters Act, which was enacted in 2017. Now, payment of system management bills as well is another bill that will be coming for first reading. We also have Foreign Exchange Monitoring and Miscellaneous Provisions Act for repeal and reenactment.
Unknown to them, it cannot even fly in the there are about 70
Anyone who has a petition to present to the House? Okay, we are done with petitions and we have petitions. So we'll go to the business of the day. The first business of the day is presentation of 6 bills. I now invite the clerk to read the short titles.
Honorable Speaker, honorable members, Institute of Chartered Accountants of Nigeria Act, Amendment Bill 2017, first reading. National Commission for Colleges of Agriculture Bill 2017, first reading. Companies and Allied Matters Act, Repeal and Reenactment Bill 2017, first reading. Payment Systems Management Bill 2017, first reading. Foreign Exchange Monitoring and Miscellaneous Provision Act, Repeal and Reenactment Bill, first reading. Federal University of Education in Nsugbe Establishment Bill 2017, first reading.
Honourable members, second business of the day is presentation of two reports of Committee on Information, National Orientation, Ethics and Values and bills referred to the committee on Tuesday 19th May 2016 and Tuesday 19th July 2016 respectively. Standing in the name of Honourable Adebumi Olusegun, reports ready for presentation, and Honourable Adebumi is now invited to present them. Honourable Adebumi, Honourable Lawal, what's your point of order? I've already called an order, so let him, except you are raising a point of order on his presentation. So allow him to take his presentation and then you can raise your point of order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Adebumi Shegun is my name. I represent the good people of Surulere Ogulua Federal Constituency. Mr. Speaker, I rise up this morning to inform the House that the House do receive the report of the Committee on Information, National Orientation, Ethics and Value on a bill for an act to establish a national agency for ethics and value to provide for the functions and powers of the agency, the qualifications and procedures for appointment of the chairman and member, and for related matters. HB 519. Mr. Speaker, number two, that the House do receive the report of the Committee on Information, National Orientation, Ethics and Value on a bill for an act to repeal the Nigeria Film Corporation Act, Cap 109, Law of the Federation of Nigeria, 2004, and reenact the Nigeria Film Commission Act, 2017, to regulate and develop the film industry in Nigeria and for related matters. Mr. Speaker, may I ask your indulgence to lay the report.
Any seconder. Honourable Golu.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, honourable colleagues. Golu Timothy Simon is my name, and I represent Kwanshin Kanke Kanam Federal Constituency of Plateau State. I rise to second that this House do receive the report of the Committee on Information, National Orientation, Ethics and Values on the bill for an act to repeal the Nigerian Film Corporation, laws of the field, and enact the Nigerian Film Commission Act. I so second, Mr. Speaker.
Those in favor of the motion say aye. Those against it say nay. Ayes have it. Honourable Adebumi, please proceed and lay the report. Honourable Lawal will take the reports before you move your point of order. Honourable members, the third business of the day's presentation report of the Committee on Telecommunications on a bill referred to the committee on Thursday, 2nd March 2017, standing in the name of Honourable Said Akinade Fijabi. Report is ready for presentation, and Honourable Fijabi is now invited to present it.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Honourable colleagues, my name is Said Akinade Fijabi. I'm from Ibadan, Oyo State, representing Ibadan Southwest Northwest Federal Constituency. Mr. Speaker, I rise that the House do receive the report on the Committee on Telecommunication on a bill for an act to amend the Stamp Duties Act, Cap S8, Law of the Federation of Nigeria, 2004, to ensure compliance with the current reality and for related matters. I so move, Mr. Speaker. Thank you.
Any seconder? Honourable Yakub Buba.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm Yusuf Buba Yakub. I represent Gombe Hong Federal Constituency from Adamawa State. I rise to second that the House do receive the report of the Committee on Telecommunications on a bill for an act to amend the Stamp Duties Act, Cap S8, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria. I so second.
Those in favor of the motion say aye. Those against it say nay. Ayes have it. Honorable Fijabi, please proceed and lay the report. Honorable members, the fourth business of the day is presentation report of the ad hoc committee on the accidental airstrike on internally displaced persons, IDPs. IDPs site at Ran, Kalabalgi local government area of Borno State, standing in the name of Honorable Mohammed Sani Zoro. Honorable members who recall that the matter was referred to the committee on Wednesday, 18 January 2017. Report is ready for presentation, and Honorable Zoro is now invited to present it.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. My dear colleagues, I remain Mohammed Sani Zoro. I represent Sule, Megateri, Gumel, and Gagara Federal Constituency. I'm from Jigawa State. Honorable Speaker, I rise to move that the House do receive the report of the ad hoc committee on the accidental airstrike on internally displaced person site at Ran in Kalabalge local government area, Borno State. I do move.
Second, Honorable Dixon Taki.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I remain Honorable Dixon Taki. I represent Makodi Guma Federal Constituency. Mr. Speaker, I'm from Benue State. I rise to second the motion as heavily moved by my colleague. I also second.
Those in favor of the motion say aye. Those against it say nay. Ayes have it. Honorable Zoro, please proceed and lay the report. Honorable members, the fifth business of the day is presentation of report of the Committee on Local Content on the investigation of expatriate quota trafficking, abuse, and unlawful sacking and replacement of Nigerians with expatriates by Intel's Nigeria Limited, standing in the name of Honorable Emmanuel Ekon. Honorable members may wish to note that the committee conducted the investigation pursuant to Orders 18 Rule 65-2 of the Standing Orders of the House. Report is ready for presentation, and Honorable Ekon is now invited to present it.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, my very dear honorable colleagues. Mr. Speaker, my name is Honorable Emmanuel Ekon. I represent Abak Etimekbo, Ika, Federal Constituency. Mr. Speaker, I'm from Akwa Ibom State. Mr. Speaker, I rise to present a report and ask that the House receive the report of the Committee on Local Content on the investigation of the expatriate quota trafficking, abuse, and unlawful sacking and replacement of Nigerians by expatriate, replacement of Nigerians with expatriate by Intel's Nigeria Limited. Mr. Speaker, I so move.
Honorable Abuja.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues. My name is Biodun Olashupo. I'm from Oyo State. I represent the Senate Tesuwaju Kajolaniwaju Federal Constituency. I write to second that the House do receive the report as moved by Honorable Imaikon. I so second, sir.
Those in favor of the motion say aye. Those against it say nay. The ayes have it. Honorable Ekon, please proceed and lay the report. Honorable Lal Abakar, point of order.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues. My name is Lawal Abakar. I represent the people of Yola North, Yola South, and Gire. I'm from Adamawa State. My point of order, Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, is on Order 6, Rule 4. That's privilege. Mr. Speaker, it is a tried law that in a democratic setup, legislators have certain powers and privilege that is accorded to them so that they can function properly. Mr. Speaker, if we recall that this House passed a resolution against some utterances or alleged utterances made by the acting president. Mr. Speaker, we have seen a repeat performance, which is very, very essential for this House to take a look. Otherwise, it will certainly undermine our democracy. I and some of my colleagues here, we happen to be members that sat down and passed the budget of 2017. Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, you can have a look at Daily Trust publication of Wednesday, June 14, 2017, at page 3. With your permission, kind permission, Mr. Speaker, I would like to read a certain portion of it. The acting president, Yemi Osibanjo, yesterday said the National Assembly has no right to introduce new projects or modify those contained in an appropriation bill. Osibanjo said executive was disappointed in the legislator for delaying the passage of the 2017 appropriation bill, which he signed on Monday. Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, this issue was reported in Daily Trust, the leadership of 14th June 2017, and also Daily Sun of Wednesday, June 14th, 2017, at page 8. Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, I would like this honorable House to sit down, reflect, and investigate this issue. Otherwise, this will definitely undermine the powers that we have as legislators, as contained in Section 4, Section 59, Section 80 to 82 of the Constitution, Mr. Speaker. And also, Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, the Constitution has given the National Assembly, under Section 60 of the Constitution, to draw its rules and procedures. So, if you look at Order 12, Rule 19 to 1 to 20, it spelled out the procedure of how a money bill is passed. So for somebody to come out and say that this particular House has no right to modify or alter, or rather it has introduced some other projects, I think that has tantamount to at least suppressing our powers as legislators, as enshrined in the Constitution. And I think that is a breach of our privilege, Mr. Speaker, I also meet.
Well, I guess this is a very topical issue. We've had cause to debate this matter. And I'm sure if we were to open this matter for debate, it will have some kind of impact on a very important business of the day, which is the PIB. And that is one important legislation that we want to really do justice to. Now, I've heard the concern of Honorable Lawal Abubakar, and I think they are quite germane. From the very pedestrian interpretation of the functions of the three departments of government, one makes law, the other executes the law, the other interprets the law. So a declaration as to which of the arms has what powers and rights belongs, in as much as it relates to the interpretation of the law, is the function of the judiciary and not of the executive. I don't even want to believe that the vice president made those statements. The acting president made those statements. I don't want to believe that, sincerely speaking. Because when it comes to the issue of the budget, I think we better say this thing and make it very clear so that our people will understand. When it comes to the budget, the power of the purse in the presidential system of government rests in the parliament. And the reason why the constitutional designers made it that way was because the executive is just one man. It's just the president. Every other person in the executive is acting on behalf of the president. So the relationship between the president and every other person there is that of a servant and a master. It is only in parliament, who are the first representatives of the people, that there's equality. And you can say your mind on any issue. You can bring matters of priority the way you like. The only way you can be cautioned is when you go outside the rules of debate. But in the executive, it's not the case. Of recent, especially in this part of the world, people exercising executive functions on behalf of the president are known to be like experts in emotional intelligence. Even when the president hasn't said anything, everybody understands what the body language is, so that he can tailor his argument to suit the body language of the president. Otherwise, that may earn you a sack. So the design of presidential, the entire architecture of presidential democracy is that it should run on the basis of consensus and cooperation between the parliament and the executive. And where there's disagreement between the executive and the parliament, the framers of the constitution were smart enough to say, look, our hope is in the representative of the people, not executive. So the parliament can even go alone. In the case of the budget, for instance, if it were the case that parliament disagrees with the executive on the budget, the worst that the executive can do is to say, okay, we cannot sign. And after 30 days, if we can muster 2/3, and it doesn't even have to be 2/3 of the entire membership, it's 2/3 once the quorum is formed, 2/3 of members sitting and voting, we can override the veto of the president and pass it into law. Now, the only course of option open to the executive to say, oh, because we didn't assent to this is the budget of parliament, we will not implement. But the point is that all of them, including us, we are under an oath to faithfully execute the laws of this land. Then the question that will fall for determination is that, is this a law of the land? And the answer is yes. Then any man of honor who is occupying either legislative or executive honor office is bound by his oath to faithfully execute that law. And in the case of the executive, if it is not done, all of us know the very consequences. I don't want to call it by its name. I don't want to call it by its name. We know the consequences. So in this kind of contest, the winner is obvious. So I don't think we should bother ourselves belaboring this issue at all. We all know where these powers are. And under our watch, there's no way this House will be a rubber stamp of any executive measures. Budgets.
Chartered Institute of Directors of Nigeria as capacity development body for directors in the public and private sectors. Therefore, there are no conflicts. There are no conflicts in substance and form given their apparent different objectives. However, the long title of the bill will require a drafting modification to delete the words regulatory body to eliminate any perception of conflict with either KAMA or BOFIA. This amendment may be effected by the committee stage of the bill. It is therefore the considered view of Rules and Business Committee and Justice Committee that the bill is suitable for further legislative consideration. It should be allowed to proceed to second reading. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, my dear colleagues.
So the matter is resolved in the affirmative. So I'd like to recognize the mover of the motion, Honorable Garba Ibrahim Mohammed, to move that the House resume debate on the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Honorable colleagues, I am Garba Ibrahim Mohammed, representing Gwale Federal Constituency of Kano State. Mr. Speaker, may I move that a bill for an act to establish the Chartered Institute of Directors of Nigeria to serve as a regulatory body for persons serving as directors in both public and private sectors, to determine the standards of knowledge and skills to be attained by persons seeking to become directors, to make provisions for continuous training and development of directors, to ensure professionalism and promote corporate governance, values in directors and other related matters be read the second time. I so move.
Seconder, Honorable Pondi.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker, honorable colleagues. My name is Julius Babozo Pondi. I represent the very kind people of Butu Federal Constituency, Mr. Speaker. I'm from Delta State. I rise to second the motion ably moved by my colleague. I so second.
In the public and private sector to facilitate effective governance, public accountability, and professional efficiency in administering the public and private sectors in Nigeria. In discharging this role, the Institute needs to secure membership of Global Network of Directors Institute, which is the umbrella of this body with headquarters in Canada. The Institute requests to be affiliated with this and other related international organizations with specialty or mandate in provision of capacity development services up to directors worldwide. The Institute is currently not a member of the two world's most famous bodies on the ground that it is not established by law in Nigeria to qualify as chartered. The failure has affected the development of the Institute despite its long functional existence. It has also limited its capacity to collaborate with and affiliate to some international organizations, to send its students to international conferences, exchange of experience visits, and number of benefits that only Chartered Institute of Directors of Africa and the rest of the world can undertake. So consequently, the bill is proposed to make the Chartered Institute of Directors in Nigeria. Consequently, the bill is proposed to make the Nigerian Institute of Directors a chartered institute to acquire all recognitions, benefit, and technical support needed to make it effective in provision of capacity development services for directors in both private and public sectors in Nigeria and the rest of the world. A legal framework establishing the Institute would therefore make it possible for the Institute to have a legal length and to put the country in good state to fully harness the potential benefits that are embedded in the Institute. So, Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, the objective of this bill seeks to, among others, are, number one, assist to acquaint directors with global best practices in collaboration with relevant institutions and bodies in Nigeria. Provide well-educated directors, specialists with critical thinking and creative problem-solving skills. Prepare knowledgeable, skilled, culturally competent, compassionate, and reflective specialists, corporate governance practitioners. Strengthen the Institute to collaborate with individuals, organizations, and agencies whose interest is in building the human capacity of Nigeria's directors and corporate governance with an aim of developing professional and technical know-how and improving productivity. Promote high level of ethical standards in the practice of professions and skills that shall be attained by persons seeking to qualify as members of the Institute. Ensure that its members attain reputable and high standard of conduct expected of any professional practice. Provide the training and examination of persons desiring to become members of the Institute and to promote and protect the interests of its members. Arrange conferences, seminars, symposia, and meetings for discussions on practices related to the profession. Ensure that the establishment and maintenance of a register of its members, as well as the publication of their list from time to time. Establish a library that will enhance the study of the profession in Nigeria and beyond. Perform such functions as are incidental to the objectives or as Council may deem necessary for the attainment of all or any of its function under this bill. The cross-country experience. Now, the establishment and operation of the Institute of Directors is a common practice the world over. The Institute of Directors in the UK, the Institute of Directors exists in UK, US, Canada, Singapore, South Africa, with corresponding structure and objectives with the Nigerian Institute of Directors sought to be established by this bill as chartered. In addition, there are continental and global associations for the Chartered Institute of Directors. Nigerian Institute of Directors is presently not chartered and requires to be established by a legal framework to make it chartered in consonance with the prevailing international practice. So the content and structure of this bill. The content of the bill is carefully drafted to reflect typical structure of an established legislation. The Institute will be self-funded from members' contributions, professional fees, donations, gifts, and other services which the Institute renders within its mandate to achieve its objectives. In addition, it is to be noted that the Institute has been in existence for the past 34 years in Nigeria with branches in some parts of the country. It does not require any special fund or grant from its members or government to establish structure for its series and administrative operations. As such, there is no any cost implication from government. In conclusion, Mr. Speaker, my respected colleagues, the need to establish the Institute cannot be overemphasized. The establishment and operation of directors is a common practice the world over. The Institute of Directors in the UK, US, Canada, Singapore, and South Africa, with corresponding structure and objectives with the Nigerian Institute of Directors, sought to be established in this bill as chartered. In addition, there are continental and global associations for Chartered Institute of Directors. Nigerian Institute of Directors is presently not chartered and requests to be established by a legal framework to make it chartered in consonance with prevailing international practice. I therefore urge my respected colleagues to support this bill to be read the second time. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
And the question is that the bill be now read the second time. Those in favor of the motion say aye. And those against it say nay. The nays have it.
Well, the second bill of the day has just been considered by the members, and that is a bill that seeks to establish the Chartered Institute of Directors in Nigeria. Well, the sponsor of that bill, Representative Garba Ibrahim Mohammed from Kano State, took time to explain the essence of that bill, which he says it aimed at making the institute chartered and then provide corporate governance training for directors in Nigeria. But eventually, members rejected the bill.
A fiscal framework that encourages further investment in the petroleum industry whilst increasing accruable revenues to the federal government of Nigeria, standing in the name of the House Leader, Honorable Pali Irase, Honorable Victor Nwokolo, Honorable Irona Akinlaja Joseph, and Honorable Abedi Frederick. Honorable members who recall that the bills were consolidated on Wednesday, 7 June 2017. I now invite the leader to move that the bill be now read the second time.
Honorable Speaker, honorable members, I remain the acting leader by grace of Mr. Speaker. My name is Honorable Mohamed Tahir Monguno. I represent Marte Monguno Ganze Federal Constituency of Borno State. I hereby move that a bill for an act to provide for the governance and institutional framework for the petroleum industry and to establish a fiscal framework that encourages further investment in the petroleum industry whilst increasing accruable revenue
to the federal government of Nigeria, and for related matters, House Bill 477, 878, and 1053 be read the second time. I so move.
Honorable Frederick.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues. Agbedi Yetimna Frederick is my name. I represent Sagbama Kerema Federal Constituency. Izonkeme, I am from Bayelsa State. Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, I rise to second the motion ably moved by Honorable Mogono, the acting leader. So second.
Minority Leader, what's your point of order?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, my highly respected colleagues. Leo Kuwe, representing Isoko Federal Constituency. Mr. Speaker, my colleagues, I'm from Delta State. My point of order, Mr. Speaker, borders on Order 12 Rule 14, which also deals with bills on the same subject matter. Now, when you look at Bill 3, Bill 4, Bill 5, they all deal on the same subject matter. And I remember vividly that these three bills, like you said, were all consolidated. If we go by our House rule and we take only Bill 3, it states clearly that more than one bill on the same subject matter may be introduced, but when the second reading of a bill has been agreed to or negative, the question shall not be proposed for the second reading of another bill of the same subject matter during the same section on the day relating to the bill being read. The Speaker shall direct that the bill be withdrawn. You know, like you stated, like when you open your speech, Mr. Speaker, the Bill 3, Bill 4, and Bill 5 has been consolidated. So I think these four bills, or rather these three bills, should be taken at the same time, rather than to take them one by one, because they all borders on the same framework. And if you take the first bill, I believe that via our House rule, it might be almost impossible to take Bill 4 and 5. So I am of the opinion that since the bills has been consolidated, the three bills should be taken at the same time. Thank you.
Well, what I know of is that I think there's an agreement for us to pursue this thing in two tranches. First would be the governance issues, and then the second is the physicals, so that it can rhyme with what the Senate has done. Because the governance issues have already passed. It's already been passed in the Senate. And so if we don't separate them, the Senate doesn't have one bill covering everything. So we'll run into the difficulties of harmonizing our position and having the same bill being worked upon by the entire National Assembly to be sent to the President or to the Executive for assent. So it's therefore incumbent on us to separate it in the order in which the Senate has done, so that we can have one bill on governance issues and then one bill dealing with the issue of the physicals. Otherwise, we'll run into trouble. Rules and business, I don't know if there's additional explanation they want to give.
Mr. Speaker, you've captured it well. That is the deliberate policy of the 8th Assembly, to try to, because of the contentious issue, some of the bills are thrown up. So I think that is it.
Yeah, Honorable Dan.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, my honorable colleagues. I'm Honorable Daniel Raineju, representing Warri Federal Constituency. Mr. Speaker, I would want to agree with my honorable minority leader on the need to consolidate the entire bills and allow it to serve. Because this House actually received a bill on the 15th of December 2015 in respect of the PIB, which is the Petroleum Industry Bill, before the Senate came up with what they call the PIGB, which is the Petroleum Governance Bill. In the one we received on the 15th of December, it also contains the Governance Bill. And it is in my own view, my view is that all of this bill be consolidated. That of the Senate, which is the the Governance Bill, is also in tandem with what we had in this House before the Senate even got their own. All we just need to do is to go clause by clause and then ensure that we marry everything together to form one bill at the end of the day. If we have to go, Mr. Speaker, please, if we have to go the way we are going, it is difficult for us. It will be difficult for us to achieve what we want to achieve with the petroleum industry bill. Mr. Speaker, as you will recall too, I was in the 6th Assembly and I was part of those that dealt with the PIB. In the 7th Assembly, I was also there. And now, what we should have done to the one we received in December would have been to go under Order 12, because that bill was passed in this House, completely passed, but it was not concurred by the Senate. But if we're not going that way, what we need to do is to consolidate and allow the entire bill to run, because we may be setting a very bad precedence to always be waiting for the Senate to pass a bill before we move ahead with it. There are no difference. The only difference here is that we are separating the governance from the fiscals and then from other related issues. I think, Mr. Speaker, I don't think there will be any good bill or any good petroleum industry bill without the fiscal. And there will be no good petroleum bill without the host community being taken into consideration and other related issues. So, Mr. Speaker, this bill had better be harmonized and it ought to be taken as one bill. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Well, I don't think we'll belabor this issue. We have an agreement with the Senate that we're taking governance issues separate from the physicals, and they've gone ahead to do it that way. So a gentleman keeps to his agreement. We cannot walk away from the agreement that we've reached. And I don't see anything stopping us from passing the governance and including the physicals later. There's a reason that informed that decision. And we can see that progress has been made. It's not the case that we're waiting for Senate to pass and then we'll tag behind. There were issues that made us to wait until this time before we commence debate on the PIB. So that's the agreement that will address the government issues separately, address the physicals and other issues separately in two different bills. So where were we? Leader, please, lead the debate.
Honorable Speaker, honorable members, I remain Mohamed Tair Munguno. I represent Marte Munguno Nganzai Federal Constituency of Borno State. Mr. Speaker, honorable members, it's a well-known fact to all of us here that petroleum or the oil industry has continued to remain the mainstay of the Nigerian economy. And as such, issues and laws that are governing the industry must always change to reflect the realities of the time. It was against this background and also against the backdrop of the fact that laws are supposed to be organic and as such are supposed to change in accordance with the changing times. Pursuant to this, there is a need to introduce the Petroleum Industry Governance Bill with a view to doing a forensic overhaul of the laws governing the petroleum industry to bring it in tandem with international best practice as it exists in other climes. Mr. Speaker, honorable members, it is well known to us that the NNPC, which is the alpha and omega that superintends over our petroleum industry, is an octopus. It has constituted itself to be an octopus with hydra-headed governance issues that need to be addressed to bring it in consonance with international best practice, especially against the backdrop of the fact that we are now preaching the gospel of transparency We are now preaching the gospel of ease of doing business with a view to attracting international investors into this country. So in order to achieve this objective of one, bringing about transparency in the conduct of business in the petroleum industry in Nigeria, in order to bring about international best practice, the Petroleum Industry Governance Bill intends, when eventually passed by this House, to unbundle the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation into various entities, so that through these entities, business will be conducted transparently, and then it will be in consonance with international best practice. If eventually passed by this House, the NNPC will be unbundled into these entities, namely the Nigerian Petroleum Regulatory Commission, the Petroleum Equalization Fund, the Nigerian Petroleum Asset Management Company, the Ministry of Petroleum Incorporated, and the National Petroleum Company. So the essence of unbundling the NNPC into these various units, one, as I told you earlier on, to bring it in consonance with international best practice, and one also for ease of doing business, and also for the purpose of transparency in the conduct of business in our petroleum industry. And once this bill is passed into law by this House, it will have the effect of repealing certain laws that are now governing the petroleum operations of the petroleum industry. And these laws are the Petroleum Product Price Regulatory Agency Establishment Act 2004, the Nigeria National Petroleum Corporation Act 2004, the Nigeria National Petroleum Corporation Projects Act 2004, and the Nigeria National Petroleum Corporation Amendment Act 2004. Once this bill is passed into law, then it will have the effect of repealing these acts that are already in existence, so that the petroleum industry governance law, if it is eventually passed into law, will now take effect. So these are the issues concerning the petroleum industry governance bill, and as rightly alluded to by Mr. Speaker and other speakers that spoke previously, the fiscal issues are contained in the other bills that are to be argued by the other sponsors of the bill. So I urge my colleagues to support the second reading of this bill in view of the importance of the petroleum industry to the Nigerian economy, to bring it in tandem with international best practice, and also to make its operation transparent in consonance with our anti-corruption policy of this government. Thank you.
Honorable Victor.
Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, my name is Honorable Victor, Mokolo member representing Ika North East, Ika South, Federal Constituency of Delta State. I rise, first of all, I strongly commend the views of the acting leader of the House that he has expressed, and his prayers for the House to support the easy passage of this bill. I wish to say here that the importance of the oil and gas sector in Nigeria's economy cannot be undermined, as the oil and gas sector of the economy provides for 80% of Nigerians' earning, 95% of our foreign exchange, and 30% of our GDP. This, as of today, we are producing at 2.3 million barrels a day, and we have a capacity of 3.3. which can only be achieved if the PIB, if it's passed into law. And again, Nigeria is the seventh highest gas reserve in the world, as well as being the sixth exporter of petroleum among the OPEC countries. Why are Nigerians interested in having a one-stop shop for the oil and gas sector? Because half of our laws are already outdated, and more so, the world is moving towards the gas sector, and there are no relevant laws which will enable the effective exploration of our gas development. And again, we need to know that our institutions, there's a decay of our institutions. Only last night, if you are going through the news, you will see how much that was declared as a loss by the NNPC. All over the world, there is nowhere in the world anymore where government is involved in the day-to-day running of the oil and gas sector. It has been thrown open to the private sector, those who have the money, who have the expertise to go and explore in that sector. It's only when there are relevant laws which protect the investor, which protects the host community, which protects the government, that this can only be achieved. And it can only be achieved when government separates itself from the policy and from implementation. So what this whole thing is intended to do is to provide for division in the oil and gas sector. What we are talking about is, one, to liberalize the downstream sector. Two, the declining production and our foreign reserves. It is only this bill that can solve such problems. What are the major problems that we need to address? These are the issues which we tend to bring to light. I don't need to talk about the laws which will be repealed, because it has already been announced, it has already been discussed by my very good acting leader of the House. But talking about governance generally, what we are talking about governance is what will be the role of the supervising ministry. That is the minister. What are his functions? Is the minister going to be a regulator? Is he going to be involved in policy? Is he also going to be involved in sales? These are the things which we want to address. How are we addressing them? Minister, in the present bill, in the governance bill, minister will be restricted only to policies. No longer the issue is a regulator, he's also at the same time a policy maker. So what we are saying here is that the office of the minister will be separated from regulation, because the bill as passed by the Senate, as also initiated by us, talks about creation of different agencies to strengthen what we have today. For example, if you look at the bill, it talks about the office of the minister, the powers of the minister, it talks about gas and oil and gas directorate, it talks about a Nigerian Petroleum Commission, it talks about National Oil Company and National Petroleum Asset Management Company, as well as Nigerian Petroleum Research Center. What we are talking about oil and gas sector, oil and gas directorates. As defined today in the Ministry of Petroleum Resources, there are no professionals there. What you find that they will post people from Ministry of Works, they will post people from Ministry of Women Affairs to go and be DPRS, and most of them have no idea, no technical knowledge of what is happening in the industry. So this oil and gas sector is going to serve as a reservoir for whoever will be minister, because office of ministers are not tenured. A minister will be appointed today, after two years in office is removed, he gets there. There are no data of which for him to work with. He falls back only to people who are supposed to be supervising, people like Shell, people like Chevron. You fall back to them for them to get data. But once this directorate is created, oil and gas sector is created, it means that it's going to be a directorate that will be made of only professionals who are recruited and trained for the purpose of it. Whether the minister stays 1 week in office or stays 10 days in office, it does not impair on the function of the minister, because he has the technical data for where he's going to work. The issue of the Petroleum Commission, what will be the role of Petroleum Commission? Today, we have a regulatory agency in the name of Directorate of Petroleum Resources. These are people overseeing the downstream and upstream. And again, the same time that are supposed to be regulators, we have two regulators. What the bill is trying to say is to make them independent, outside the control of the minister, outside the control of even NMTC. so that will give confidence, that will give the trust that is needed by the investors to say that yes, we have an umpire that is not controlled by the policymaker, we have an umpire that's independent, that will give us fair judgment where our investment will be properly secured. That is basically what the National Petroleum Commission is talking about. And the National Petroleum Commission, it talks about who has the place, what are the criteria of those who are going to head the place. It talks about directors who will oversee the sectors, and they are going to take effective charge of the environment. Today, when you are talking about environmental issues, you find Federal Minister of Environment coming into it, you find NOSDA, you have DPR, they're all scrambling for a role in the regulatory sector. But what we are saying today, that the regulation of the petroleum industry must be conferred to only one agency that will be independent. That's what the Petroleum Commission is talking about. And National Oil Company, the National Oil Company, what is their role? The National Oil Company, from the bill we have seen, is those who go and source for money, no longer waiting for the government to always provide. Like, though the issue of joint venture investment has been addressed, but we are going further to make them what is obtainable in other jurisdictions where you can sell shares, have shares, and as well invest, not waiting for the government to come and invest money, even if the issue of cash crunch has been addressed, but allowing the OICs to take more products, to get involved with more productions, and so that they can recoup the money they have used for such investments. The Asset Management Company and the Research Center every big agency all over the world have a place where they consult back to do a proper and effective research of the place. With these little highlights of what the bill is all about, and that's the governance bill, I wish to appeal to my respected colleagues that we need to move with the trend of events. We need what we need to do to bring investors into our economy, and we need to properly harness the benefits of the petroleum sector. I therefore urge you to kindly support the easy passage of this bill. Thank you.
The sponsors of the bill, First Honorable Akinlaja.
My Honorable Speaker, Honorable colleagues, my name is Honorable Comrade Joseph Iraola Akinlaja. I represent Ondo East, Ondo West Federal Constituency. I'm from Ondo State. Honorable Speaker, honorable colleagues, the time to pass this petroleum industry governance bill is now. Members will recollect that in the year 2000, the then President of Nigeria, Chief Olusegun Obasanjo, set up the Oil and Gas Industry Reform Committee that went around and investigated the oil industry with the singular benefit for Nigeria and Nigeria. These reports came and became the basis for this petroleum industry bill. But today, we have decided to sponsor this bill, but in three parts: the governance bill, the fiscal framework, and also the issue of community. The community is very important for the success of any law that we will make as regards the oil industry, because law is made for man, not man for law. Because the community is where this product is coming from, and their interests have to be taken into consideration. But at the moment, I'm going to speak on the governance bill. The governance of the oil industry will determine the success of the benefit to Nigeria and also encourage investors. These are the key objectives that led to our sponsorship of this bill.
Those who will invest, both national and international, the IOCs, must be encouraged to have confidence in coming to Nigeria to mine the oil, to explore and also produce the oil. Nigeria, the owner of the oil, must also benefit from it. In time past, we have had institutions, governance institutions that is predominantly controlled by the oil minister, whoever is the oil minister. Therefore, whatever the oil minister is seen as the oil industry and the oil industry is seen as the oil minister. This leads to inefficiency because it is susceptible most of the time to political decisions. And when that happens, the profitability of the industry is affected. We have therefore said today, Nigeria produces maximum 2.2, 2.3 million barrels of crude oil a day. But it has the capacity of producing 3.3 million. Can also produce up to 4 million barrels per day. And being a monocultural economy that we have, the more crude oil we can produce, the more revenue for the country and the more for the betterment of Nigeria and Nigerians. Therefore, it is very critical that an industry that produces 95% of our foreign exchange, 80% of our national income must not be joked with, and this parliament and the parliament of the people must look for a way and means of making sure it is efficient. If that will be the case, as it should be the case, we have then decided to reform the governance, where the minister will be the general supervisor responsible for policy making and regulation. Then we separate the commercial by law from the commercial aspect of the industry. The National Oil Corporation, the NNPC, that is the eye of the company in the oil industry today, has to be unbundled. Many attempts have been done, have taken place in the past to unbundle the NNPC. It was created into 12 subsidiaries, and even last year, the current minister said it was created, unbundled into 30
Honorable
other
members,
units,
please. Silence,
30
please.
other units of the industry. Still, this has not provided the desired result for Nigeria and Nigeria. Our proposal in this bill, therefore, is to create institutions that will lead to efficiency of the industry. So we have defined the minister's role in Part 2, Section 5 to 7 of this bill. What will be the function of oil and gas directorates in Part 3 of this bill, Section 8 to 29? Because when the minister is involved in the political aspect and policy making, there is need for a technical section that will ensure that even when the minister changes, there is a base for a knowledge base for the would-be minister to assist in driving the process in the oil industry. We have also proposed that the Nigerian Petroleum Commission will be the regulatory part of this oil industry that will be different from Department of Petroleum Resources function, the present petroleum price, product prices and regulatory agency, PPPRA, and even the Petroleum Equalization Fund, and then the regulatory part of even the NNPC. All will come together to form this commission. Then this commission will be a commission that will operate independently, including financial independence, so that it could perform the function that DPR could not perform efficiently because of lack of independent source of funding. Mr. Speaker, we also think of the National Oil Company, because the NNPC now will be unbundled, broken down into both the Regulatory Commission and the National Oil Company that will be involved in the commercial aspect of the oil industry. Also, the Nigerian Petroleum Asset Management Company is being proposed in this bill to take on the present asset of the company, the National Oil Company, which means all OML, OPL, all joint venture agreements will now be handled by this asset management that will consist of experts and Nigerian Petroleum Research Center. There is need for a research center to be in the industry to bring up all these information that will be needed for the development of the industry. In this case, definitely this reform will involve repealing some obsolete petroleum acts, like the Petroleum Acts, the Pipeline Acts. All these obsolete acts will definitely be repealed.
Well, this is where we draw the curtain on today's live broadcast of the plenary of House of Representatives. The House has received 6 petitions and then, well, considered a bill. And that bill, seeks to establish the Chartered Institute of Directors of Nigeria. The member who sponsored that bill, had time to give the advantages of establishing such institute. But, at the end of the day, that bill could not see the light of the day as it was rejected by the members, and it ceases to, operate within the 8th Assembly, so to say. And then the House now went straight to consideration of the Petroleum Industry Bill. And then it's like I did say at the beginning, the Petroleum Industry Bill in the House of Representatives are, divided into 3 different bills. And then the one that is being considered at present is the one that has to do with the governance in the petroleum industry. And that is actually the one that the Senate did pass on the 25th of May 2017. And then at the moment, the members are now considering that particular one. And as soon as that one passes for second reading, the House will still be considering the other 2 bills that will be coming after the first one. And the other 2 bills are actually talking about the physical frameworks of the Petroleum Industry Bill. And so, after the bill is passed for second reading, and then it will now be handled by the committee. Well, at this point in time, we'll hand you over to our studios for the continuation of the program of the day. I am Ignatius Nkwo, and on behalf of our outside broadcast crew, I say enjoy the rest of the week. Bye for now.